The following video footage was captured live at a rare Dr. Schultz public appearance. He healed himself of his life-threatening heart deformity and of other incurable injuries. Dr. Schultz is a very dangerous man. His clinic was forced to close, and he now lives in hiding.
Now we get to talk about my favorite subject, fecal matter. Yeah! I love to hear that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of my bowel history. Excuse me. And that to me was pooping as a kid. What was the consistency like? Soft peanut butter. Every Sunday, my dad used to go in the bathroom to have his bowel movement. And I would go in, and it was like a green cloud, you know, a toxic waste dump in there. When you go once a week, it isn't very pretty. Poop was bubbling out of the ground. Like, look at what I got out of these people. And I thought, oh my God. And it was hot in the room and no fan and more poop and more poop and more poop. Does everybody in natural healing have a poop fetish or something? They do think we're a pretty weird group. And I was so constipated, I remember once I pooped in my pants in school. Some of you can relate to that. And boy, did I feel a difference. I gotta go. I'd like to use the bathroom, please. And then when you find a bathroom, it looks like, you know, heroin addicts use it. It's like pooping in space or something. And it was some automated poop remover thing. I learned survival in school was really about never pooping. I just gotta pee, honest. I gotta pee. You cannot be cool and poop. See, I pooped in the French sink or something. I cleaned up as best I could, but I don't need to wash my hands. I love bowel stories. She told me a story about her daughter who had some severe constipation. The doctors even got to where they'd bring her to the hospital and go in with their fingers and dig it out. Dirty or a nasty poo-poo, you did a bad one, and hot fecal matter went all over her dress and all over her boyfriend, and of course the party was over. Remember I told you about this, where the poop comes out the vagina? She said a bowel movement came out of him as long as from her fingertips to her elbow, as big around as her forearm. She said that once it was in the toilet, they couldn't flush it down. Her husband had to get a shovel out of the garage and chop it up. What is normal? What is normal? It is normal to have a bowel movement every 3 to 5 days. She's going to have normally about 120 bowel movements in her entire life. I had a lady that only had 6 bowel movements in an entire year. Guess what she did for a living? I traveled all around the world for about 5 years in search of the perfect bowel movement. Well, that makes people feel very comfortable right off the bat, doesn't it? Welcome, have a nice relaxed bowel movement, and let everybody watch you. That's a sure sign of constipation. I was amazed at the amount of constipated children. But I want to guarantee your bowel works tomorrow morning. And the doctors say it was impossible for our baby ever to have a bowel movement. One day it vomited fecal matter. Now that's backed up. I don't care, like I said, if a person's dead, we'll still get them to have one last poop. And at 7 in the morning, they started going. They didn't stop for hours. And in a 24-hour period, lost 52 pounds. Yeah! He says, you know what the weirdest thing is about you Americans? And I said, what? And he says, you never wash your asses. You have to be careful with diarrhea. Don't be shy, unless you want Montezuma's revenge. Isn't this a bit radical? That's radical! The only ecstasy my customers have is when they take a big dump. How about some worms? Want to hear about some worms?